Pittsburgh Steeler fans, welcome back to another episode of Steelers Stat Geek. This is Behind the Steel Curtain editor Dave Schofield coming at you once again on a Tuesday night at approximately 9 p.m. Eastern, which seems to be our thing, with my one and only big brother, Rich. How you doing tonight?
Hey, doing good. Doing good. Why? Because it's not, 8 zillion degrees here this evening. It is actually really, really nice. As you can see, I got the door open behind me and just, much happier when I'm not,
Do I hear the crickets?
When I don't have
the crickets.
What crickets?
You don't hear the cheep. Come on, you live in the country. You're supposed to have country sounds.
But if you look close out the door later, you'll probably see the fireflies going.
Ah, there we go. Don't be surprised, those of you watching on YouTube, if you see flashes in the background at Big Bro Scho's house. That's just fireflies, lightning bugs. It all depends on where you're from and what you call them. Right. So let's dive into some Steelers news. Steelers. Because, well, first of all, if anyone who's peeked at the topic of the show, hold off on stuff about the topic of the show. We'll talk about that. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves. So that's the first thing. Let's talk news. Today was the big day. That's when we're rolling in with trucks and heavyweight belts and limousines and helicopters, because that's what we should have expected today for the start of training camp, right?
Right.
No. We got guys in masks showing up to get a piece of cotton shoved up into their brain through their nostril, and then they go home. That's all we got today from the start of training camp. Well, that's not all that we got. We started training camp. That's not all we got, because the rookies were able to do some workouts because they've already gone through their 4 days of testing and all those things. That's why they've already had someone end up on the reserve / COVID-19 list for the Steelers. Defensive back Arian Springs. I assume it's Arian. It's like Aaron, but has an I in it, who played in the XFL, and he's on the list. You don't know if it's a positive test or if he was close to someone with a positive test. Chances are it was probably a positive test because they were just testing players. And for that reason, because they had someone go on that list, the Steelers made a roster move today where they could sign another player. Did they sign another defensive back? No, they didn't sign another defensive back. They went and added to the running back room. Did you hear about this acquisition, brother?
I did.
Of Wendell Smallwood, former Philadelphia Eagle and Washington football teamer.
Although when he was there, you could say
technically when he was there, it was the Redskins. There you go. But the franchise now known as the Washington football team. That's where he played last year. I remember him I don't remember him much with Washington last year. I mainly remember him from his time in Philadelphia. And he also went to WVU. Comes into the room, oldest guy in the room now. Did you realize that? Oldest guy in the room.
I did not realize that, but I really guess I should have, considering the oldest guy,
Yep.
that we had in the room. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So the big question is, why running back? Why running back? Is there something we don't know? Well, Reed brought up something, and we actually have an article coming out on this tomorrow. He says he's calling it James Conner's going to opt out for health concerns. There was a report. Well, first of all, James Conner weeks ago said that he was not going to be afraid. He wasn't going to play scared. He's got a great immune system now. He's going forward. But there also was a report that an unconfirmed source, this was by NFL Network's Tom Pelissero, or I think it's Pelissero. I don't know if I say it right or not. I'll butcher another name. He said that he had a source that confirmed that Conner is playing and not opting out. So there's an article on that coming out tomorrow on BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. So make sure you check out there, your one-stop shop for all things Pittsburgh Steelers. So that's a question. Or did they feel like they just needed a veteran presence there? It's hard to understand. Why do you think they went running back?
Who are they shopping already? That's the other thing you got to think about.
Ooh.
Is Colbert shopping somebody already?
Well, I don't think they're shopping Benny Snell after one season. So I think that would be my least likely guy. And then from there on, I'd say anybody. But I'm a Benny Snell guy. I like Benny Snell.
I know.
So who knows? Maybe they're thinking they could get value there. And it's not McFarland. That's definitely
Right.
the number one least likely, because I almost forgot about him because they just drafted him this year.
Right.
And everything. So it didn't cost them anything to bring in Smallwood. I mean, I don't think he might barely, because of his years, he could maybe qualify in the top 51 where it would, a couple $1,000 changing towards the salary cap, but not really. Because I'm pretty sure he probably signed for a league minimum because he wasn't playing anywhere. So
Right.
It'll be interesting to see what the Steelers are thinking there. And unfortunately, we're not going to really know what they're thinking there because we don't have a preseason to watch to see how the workload goes. So your guess and my guess are going to be that we're going to try to get reports. I'm hoping we still hear Mike Tomlin talk to the media, but it's going to be tough to find out anything. So that's interesting. Another thing I wanted to bring up. I really wanted to look to bring this up specifically on my article at behindthesteelcurtain.com, which is about the that I have it going here. I kept it pinned to the main page. First of all, we have a new section that we are testing out that we'd like to try to see if it works, where we just have around the NFL, just general NFL news on the website. So when you come to get your Steelers news, you have a quick list of some other NFL stories that could be interesting. A story I had in there that I actually moved up onto the main page and kept it there because it was so intriguing is about players opting out for the season and the players who have opted out. And there's a lot. And not only is there a lot, there are 6 New England Patriots that have opted out this year already. So if you have not seen this, I'm telling you, if you're out there in the live chat, listen to this in podcast, Frank Caliendo did a small video. I saw it on Twitter because it was shared by Devlin Hodges. So Duck shared this video. It is Frank Caliendo as Bill Belichick calling players about the 2020 season and kind of almost seeming like he doesn't want them to come play, with a bunch of pictures in the background. And I saw these pictures. I'm like, wow, they must really like Chase Winovich that they drafted last year, out of Michigan, who was from Pittsburgh, a lot of Steeler fans wanted. And then I look closely, I'm like, that's not Chase Winovich. That's Trevor Lawrence. So, the quarterback from Clemson. Yeah. So it was like Belichick was trying to talk his players out of playing in 2020 so they could get a good draft pick. It was really funny. For those of you that don't know, Frank Caliendo, fantastic impersonator, comedian. We still bust into that all the time, growing up as a boy in Northeast Ohio. With him as Morgan Freeman reading LeBron James's. Yeah.
I love that one. I also love when he did Morgan Freeman doing the Allen Iverson rant about practice. Yeah.
Practice,
talking about practice, man. Not a game. Talking about practice.
Boy, this has gone downhill. Maybe no, this has gone uphill real quick. So there's a lot of names on here. The 2 most significant names out of the Patriots that have opted out are, I want to make sure I have them right, are what's that?
Hightower.
Linebacker Dante Hightower, who the Steelers supposedly gave an offer to several years ago, and safety Patrick Chung. That was surprising. They join offensive lineman Najee Turan, we'll say. Fullback Danny Vital, tackle Marcus Cannon, running back Brandon Bolden. And then, of course, Patrick Chung. And was there another one? I think that was it. Couple Ravens on the list. One was a wide receiver. Wide receiver DeAnthony Thomas, and the other was offensive tackle Andre Smith. So interesting stuff with players opting out. I read something unconfirmed on Twitter that they said originally players had till August 1st to opt out, but there was something in the new CBA that the players had until 7 days after the ratification of the new CBA, which technically hasn't been signed yet. The agreement they just came up with last weekend. So, right, this could last into like a full week of August or more. So, very interesting that some of these players are opting out. None have been Pittsburgh Steelers yet. That'll be very interesting to see. Some think that James Conner being a cancer survivor, but what he said in the past makes you think that he would not be, especially this being going into a contract year. And here's the thing with James Conner, because he would be considered an at-risk player, he would be eligible for a larger stipend, and he would get an accrued season. So if I understand that correctly, that means he would be a free agent. So, but if it's a player that's not deemed to be high risk, then their contract would toll for the next year and everything would just bump forward with that. Very interesting stuff, kind of nerdy numbers and stuff to look into. But anything else news-wise you want to talk about from the first day of training camp?
Oh, well, the crickets outside we were talking about.
Oh, they're the crickets.
Yeah. That's like,
yeah. Not really, right?
Oh, no. I mean, no.
Yeah, to me, these are OTAs in my mind. These are like OTAs. This part of this and real training camp doesn't kick off. I think is right around August 17th when you get when you're actually getting some padded practices and stuff. So it's good to see pictures of players. Ben looks good. Benny Snell looks good. I had to look real closely. I'm like,
you're sitting there saying anything you want to talk about there in the camp. What did you want me to say? Man, did you see the snot on that guy's swab when they pulled it out of his nose? It's like,
well, one of them was Steven Nelson's like, I'm not looking forward to this test. Not looking forward to this test. And then afterwards he tweeted, he said, yeah, that wasn't so bad. I got this. So now.
Really? Because I'll tell you what. So at work, at the college where I work, the wrestling coach had the test done. Mm-hmm. He said it was horrible.
Yeah.
It's like he's like, they showed that thing.
Scramble your sinuses.
Yeah. It's like, oh.
So, but fans should be aware. Do you know what we're going to get next week or this weekend? We're going to get a lot of positive tests. You're going to see a lot of guys going on this thing. And you're saying, oh, no, this is terrible. Oh, how they're going to have the season. No, this is where you want to get the positive tests. Because think about it. Even if across the NFL, there's 100 positive tests, that's still a very low positivity rate. That's like under 4%. So now, unless you're talking like 500 or 600 tests that they're coming back as positive, then you might be like, what's going on? But also, this is what the testing is for. This is to find people that have it. Don't let them spread it. Get everyone else that doesn't have it, and start creating a safer environment. So don't let this thing stress out. Every time there's a player with a positive test, you get the same sky is falling people screaming on Twitter or having to comment on every one of our articles saying there's not going to be a season. If that's the way you want to live your life, that pessimistic, fine. But you don't have to drag everyone else down with you. So we're going to see how it goes, and we'll get as much NFL in as we can. And hopefully they can learn from the mistakes that some of the clubs have gone with in MLB, where they made some poor choices, that the NFL can learn from that and not have repeats.
Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to the players and their actions. And that's why I think went bad in MLB. Guys think they're invincible, and they're not.
Yeah.
So,
and players in the NFL, as part of this agreement, will face fines if they do not follow the protocols off the field of things that they can and cannot do. I had an article this past weekend that outlined it. And if they end up with a positive test and they're fine and they found that they violated these protocols, then they will not be receiving the compensation over those games. And they could have their contract and even parts of their future contract void if teams choose to. So pretty interesting. And it's funny because someone asked the question, will players opt out because there's because they don't want these restrictions. Well, if players want to opt out because they don't want to adhere to these restrictions, then they're not opting out for safety reasons, because these restrictions are basically the same restrictions that are going on in the cities that teams are in. Things like like going to an indoor bar or things like that. I can't remember them all because I wrote them in the article. So with that, you ready to move on?
Let's go.
All right. So the topic of the show tonight is something that we've done. We've done these spread out here and there throughout the off season. People have asked them in the live chat and various different things. We are going to do a show that we are trying to focus in all our over-unders. We're going to look at a bunch of different categories. We're going to look at the different stats. We're going to see what's going on in a couple of the past years to try to develop a good number to then go over-under, because if it's a hard decision, it means we picked a good number.
Yeah.
If it's a hard decision, it means we picked a good number. Now, what we're asking from those of you tuning in live from YouTube in the live chat, answer these over-unders in there all you want, but don't start throwing out questions about over-unders and throwing out numbers. Please don't do that yet, because guess what? We're going to do that later.
Yeah.
We're going to do these and do the ones that we can think of, which could be a repeat of yours. And we're going to answer them. And then we're going to open up to you all to have a question with a number, and then we'll state the over-under. Okay. So we already got people that aren't listening.
Really?
Okay. I'm going over.
Me too.
Yeah. So I just hope they don't do that for me. So here we go. Let's make it simple. We're going to go over under wins for the Steelers, assuming everything here is assuming a 16-game season. If something happens where the season gets abbreviated, remember, the season could be abbreviated and still be concluded. So don't flip out about that. They could decide at some point that if something happens and they have to and things go down, they could still just abbreviate the season. So we're going to do all our numbers based on a 16-game season, and if there's not, then you just divide by the number of games they play and multiply by 16 to see what it would have been. So we're going to go wins in a 16-game season. I'm going to set the number at 10. Last year, the Steelers were 8-8. The year before, they were 9-6-1. The year before that, they were 13-3. So I'm going to set that number at 10. Over under wins for the 2020 Steelers.
Okay, and I'm making you answer that first.
Well, I'm going over.
Well, you better go over because
I picked 11. I picked 12 technically.
You picked 12.
Yeah,
but
really, I go. I mean, honestly, 10-6 is a really good prediction.
It was both Bad and Lance were
that said
at 11.
They were at 11-5.
I was the person that said 10-6.
But a lot of things have changed since then. A lot of things have changed with everything in the off season and whatnot.
I know.
So
you put me at 10, which is right where I was. So see, you're making me go.
I almost gave you the hook and said 10.5.
Well, that's what you should be doing.
But I'm not.
Then you can't pick 10. So I'm going with the over.
You're going with the over. We got George saying it's a push. He's going with the 10.
I'm not going to wimp out and go push.
Yeah. So no, I mean, honestly, if I pick a good number, push is the answer. So we'll go with that one. Yeah, I mean, we know a lot of this depends on health, and bottom line is this: if there's an opt out or there's an issue, this could change next week. We could do this. We could do the same show next week if too much changes between now and then. So, and say, all right, now that blah blah blah, now that the Steelers don't have this player, or when you find out that this other player isn't going to be around for other teams, could change it in the other direction.
Yeah.
So lot of stuff up in the air. So we're just going that it's normal. Let's go to rushing yards. We're going to go to rushing yards. Last year, the rushing yards was at 1447, which was 2 more than the year before, which was 1445. The year before, it was 1667. So you know what number I'm going to go with, don't you?
Yeah.
1500.
Okay.
Rushing yards for the Steelers set at 1,500 yards as a team.
Okay. Under.
You're going under.
Yeah.
You're going under. I'm going to go over because I think the Steelers can go 60 yards better than last year. I almost went 1,600 with this, but I thought you might go under. I know this is tough because people said Ben didn't get a new elbow to come back and hand it off.
That's right.
So, but
that's the Lance Williams take, right?
Yeah.
Didn't get new.
So I'll be
off.
honest with you. If I went 1,600, you would be under, and I would honestly still be over. I'm going to put him around 1,650 is where I'll go. So we can even adjust that number up to 1,600 and give you a little bit better line if you wanted it.
See, I think they're going to be pushing that 1,500 mark.
Okay. Ooh, we'll split the difference. 1,550, and we'll call you under, and I'll go over. So, bottom line is, it depends if they're winning games or not. Are they able to just hand the ball off successfully? Because it doesn't do any good to try to run the ball late in games if you're not gaining any yards. You're better off throwing 3-yard passes, which is perfect if Ryan Switzer runs a 4-yard route. That ends up about
Ryan Switzer can run 4-yard routes.
Yeah. So I'll just pick those. Hey, I don't want to get into that debate.
The one in Chizap's article today was a negative 1-yard route.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Well, obviously I edited it, so yeah, of course I saw that. Which was funny. He's like, he ran a negative 1-yard route, which was pretty funny.
I kept watching. Was it real? I was like, holy cow, it was.
Hey, I tell you though, but there's when Ben Roethlisberger was there to utilize him, it was on third or second and short where he was just getting enough. And like his touchdown with the Steelers year before last was I think it was a 1-yard touchdown catch, and he was just across the line.
Right.
So bottom line is, you think Ben likes to throw the ball to guys that he knows will catch it. Here we go. Passing yards. This is a hard number to come up with because this is also receiving yards as well. Because obviously, technically sacks are taken off of passing yards, but they don't really list out passing and receiving yards separately. Last year, the Steelers were under 3,000. They were at 2,981. In 2018, they were just over 5,000 with 508. And in 2017, let me have it here, was 4,380. I am going to set the number. Let's see. Because I didn't want to do these numbers ahead of time. Some of them I had in my mind, but I didn't write them down. So I'm going to set it at 4,000.
Okay.
Do the Steelers go under 4,000 or over 4,000 passing yards?
Over.
You're going over.
Yes.
See, I almost
Ben didn't get a new elbow to come back and hand it off. And again, that's banking all on, Ben comes back and is healthy and can throw the ball.
Yeah, honestly, this one's hard. I almost did 4,500 because it'd be easy to take the under. That's why I almost picked 4,200 because 4,200 I'm taking the under. But at 4,000, I'm going to say over. I'm going to say 4,100 is about where it's going to be because I'm hoping the Steelers don't have to. Look at that 5,000 yards in 2018.
Right.
They were constantly trying to come back.
Right. And right. But also you got to look at this. Okay. You got to look at that year and the year before. All right.
2017, which was 4,380.
Right. And you look there and you think, oh, but there he had Mr. Third and fifth, and we don't have Mr. Third and fifth anymore. But I think overall our receiving core is a lot more dangerous now than it was 2 years ago.
As a whole.
Yes, as a unit.
That's why you said overall. I wanted to see if I could bring up 2016 real quick. 2016 was 4,200 because although they won 2 less games, I don't think their games like 2017 was that crazy year when they were constantly every game was really close and Boswell was kicking them to victory at the end. So they were still needing to do stuff to win the games. So that was interesting. Let's keep it kind of along the same lines. Let's go with passing attempts. Because last year it was 510 And in 2018, it was 689. And the year before, in 2017, was 590. So the question is, do you think we're going back to 2018? This one might be a little bit easier with I'm going to set it at 600 when he was almost at 700 attempts in 2018. Do you think the Steelers go over 600 passing attempts?
Yes, it did.
I'm going. You think they're going over?
I think they're going over.
Okay,
but not by a lot. I expect them to be maybe in the 16s, and that would 612, 613, 614. And I would consider that a lot.
I'm going to say under, but there's one wild card you have here. And that is replacing some of their rushing attempts with short passes.
Yep.
Especially, I know a lot of people have put a lot into Matt Canada. Remember, no, he's not the offensive coordinator, but I'm pretty certain he's going to be one of the guys developing either the most likely his quarterback's coach, the passing game plan. So perhaps they're going to be using some more motions and things of that sort. I mean, think about it. Granted, we don't want to see the Wildcat coming back. But when they ran the Wildcat that first week against Cincinnati, the Steelers didn't look like they rushed the ball very well and had a lot of passing yards because they were running those little tip passes and things like that, and that count as passes and not rushes. That's where I could see the attempts maybe going up. We should go back to rushing. I didn't do rushing attempts. Rushing attempts in 2019 was 395, and in 18 it was 345, and in 17 was 437. So the question is, will the Steelers go over 400 rushes?
No.
You think they're gonna pass? Say rush less, pass more. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go.
We were where last year?
Last year was 395.
Oh, wait a minute.
Okay. Let's go 425.
Yeah, we'll see. Better go 425 because actually then 400 is too easy to go over.
Yeah. So, which is really close to what they were in 2017, which was 437. So, which is a good difference between those two. So, yeah, we'll go 425. I'm going over. I have a feeling for some reason, it just feels like this year is going to be, air it out, throw it around, get some points in the first half. Second half is let the defense do their thing and run the ball.
Well, if I were to, take an argument from, and no, it's not going to be Lance Williams' argument. Okay, if I were to take an argument from my good friend Cliff Harris is still a punk.
Yes.
I would say I could answer that question for you if I knew who the right tackle was going to be.
Yes, because that you've referenced the article twice. I got to throw this out there. It was really good today.
It was a good article.
He broke down. It was finishing up the series of looking at Filer moving to guard and looking at the two tackles and what they bring to the table. And what Kevin ultimately said was it's going to come down to the Steelers scheme. He says, if one of the guys can make an improvement in the weaker part of their game, that's your starter. He says, but right now, Banner is the superior run blocker, could work more on his pass protection. Even though when we had him on the show, he said he only gave up 3 sacks in college. This is the NFL. It's you're dealing with elite pass rushers every single snap of every game. And then versus Chukwuekorfor, who is a superior pass blocker, but not really a guy that gets a lot of push on the rush.
Not the big mauler up there on the line.
So,
because see, this is not knowing that this is a difficult over under.
Mm-hmm.
If I knew what that was, I'd probably be able to say one way or the other, which again tells me you picked the number in the right place here.
Yes.
You know what? I got a feeling we're going to be slightly under. So I'm going to take the under there.
Slightly under. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I'm going to go over just the way that I think it's going to go. We said what, 425? Yes, that was the ultimate number. So here's one. This one's interesting. How about penalty yards?
Okay.
You're going to think I'm crazy. Penalty yards. Okay. Believe it or not, the Steelers have had less penalty yards than their opponents the last 3 years. But in 2019, they had 893 penalty yards. And in 2018, they had 1,026 penalty yards. And then the year before, it was back down in 2017, it was back down into the 800s. It was 897 penalty yards. So I'm going to set the number at 950.
You gave me too easy of a number. That's
Did
under.
I?
That's under.
I'm going over. I'm
Don't
going over because of the lack of preseason. I think penalties early on are just going to be a lot, because not just the lack of the preseason for the players, the lack of the preseason for the officials. And I think you're going to see a lot of penalties earlier and then have them die off as the season goes on. But I think that's going to be enough to push them. I don't know if they'll go over 1,000, but I think they'll go over 950. So apparently you did have some breaking news. I knew earlier that Minkah Fitzpatrick was what ended up being rated or ranked number 35 in the NFL Network's top 100, which is chosen by the players. And it seems as if TJ Watt was just announced at number 25. We knew both of them were in the top 40 because the Steelers had 2 more guys, and that's it for the Steelers, because they told you how many players each team had. So, and that was 3 for the Steelers. So it was Cam Hayward at 84, Minkah Fitzpatrick at 35, TJ Watt at 25. So nice little break in the action there. So we did penalties. Let's go to some defense. Or nope. Let's go offense. I don't have these numbers from this past year, but I'm just going to set. I know it was like 18 or something. Let's talk about points per game. There's one last thing for the offense. Points per game. I have scoring percentage, I have touchdown percentage, but I don't have points per game in front of me. I have points per drive in front of me, but that just doesn't work. Nope. So I'm going to throw the number out there. This is what I'm going to throw it out there at 24.
It's a good number.
Last year they were. Yep. Right, last year they were way under that, but in years past they're like, we want to average 30, but last year they didn't even hit 30. So 24 points scored per game.
Can we average 24 a game?
Don't know that they'll have to.
No.
You know what I mean?
I know. And you also have this whole issue of we're not playing any preseason games, and things are not going to be real heavy, at camp. I expect to see offensive behind defenses to start the year.
Yep, I see that as well.
All right, if we don't cover that,
they can still have a really successful season and not hit that mark.
Right. And we could start very slow on offense, and we could, we over the first 6 games of the season could average 13 a game and average, 26 a game for the rest of the season, and we'd still be under that for the year. So, wow.
You've made me change my answer right now. Whenever you give yours, I had my answer. Now I'm changing it.
Been missing one Jefferson Hartman here. Someone's got to be the homer. I'm going over.
You're going over? Well, you made me change my answer to under. You know why? I something sparked in my mind, and here's why I went under. I'm going to go 23.
Because it only takes a couple really low games to really bring that average down.
True. And I thought to myself, the Steelers have the second easiest schedule of the season based on last year's record. Would that allow them to score more points? And I'm going to say no. I don't think they're going to focus on scoring points. I think they're going to be focusing on winning games. And I could see the Steelers scoring 20 points by halftime and just letting their defense do the rest of the work and not really care about scoring more points. So that's why.
Oh, wait, it skipped on me. Oh,
nope.
There you go, George.
Okay.
Offensive points or team points?
This is point score. This is point
scored. Right. Defensive points count towards this.
Point
just score. What does the team score in games? So I'm still going to go on the optimistic there. I'm still going to say we get the over, but it won't surprise me if we end up somewhere in that 22 to 23 range. That would not be shocking.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I think it's going to. I thought I picked a really good number there. Now let's see if I can do it again, because then next you go to you're like, oh, that number's terrible. We're going to transition to the defense, and we're going to start with the same stat. We're going to go with average points surrendered per game. Now this is not just on defense. This is just as a team. So if they give up special teams points or the offense surrenders points, all these things, and I'm going to set that number. See, I'm afraid I'm going to do it, and you're going to say, "Oh, that's too easy." I'm going to throw it out there. I'm going to set it at 17. Will the Steelers give up more or less than an average of 17 points a game?
How many did we give up per game last year?
I don't know. I don't have it in front of me.
I'm not sure we gave up that much last year.
I don't know, but
if we did it, those first two games really killed us.
Yeah,
we gave up a lot.
Let's see.
17.
Here. I'm looking. I was trying to find team defense while I have this new setup here for podcast, because where I'm in my wife's office, she got this new really rising desk and everything, and I got like 2 extra monitors that I could sit here and have stats staring at me the entire show. And I know you might be able to look close enough and see them on my glasses, but it also helps brighten up my face if you're looking on YouTube, which probably is a bad thing for our YouTube watchers. So
back on the light.
I'm not seeing a team defensive stat unless I actually type in and go with it. I was thinking last year it was much lower, but who's to say that they could do that again? Maybe 17 was. I almost said 16, but
this is one of those. I'm going to say it's tough, because I'd like to say defenses are going to be stronger at the beginning of the year than offenses and this and that. But I'm probably going to take the over here, but not by much. We're going to be under 20, but we might be over 17.
Yeah, I'm going under on the 17. I'm thinking they could. I'd love to see something more around the 13.5 range, but
and again, you get into
because of that beginning of the season stuff that I think the defense will have the advantage.
Like, let's say we come out the very first game and we pitch a shutout against the Giants, right? If we come out and pitch a shutout against the Giants, oh my gosh, you could give up 34 in the next game and you're still
averaging 17. Yeah.
So,
I mean, look, because last year the Steelers, they had this good average and they gave up, it was 33 in week 1, correct? Not just 30, it was 33. I'm pretty sure it was 33.
I think it was.
Yes, it was 33. Look, they gave up 33 in week 1 and 28 in week 2. Then you had Minka, and you never got higher than 26, and that took overtime. And I mean, just think about it. I mean, they only held opponents to single digits once. That was the first time they played the Bengals, and that was the 3 points. But once Minka Fitzpatrick joined the team, you're talking about them giving up 20 or more points in 1, 2, 3, 4 games. So I missed the bottom one. There was 28 against the Ravens that last week, but remember, one of them was Jordan Berry, and the other one was set up by a ridiculous take a sack and fumble the ball away at the end of the first half by Hodges. I don't want to relive that. Let's move on.
Okay.
So we got to think.
You're ready to make me over make you ever think that a little bit? You ready?
Mhm.
Ready to have me? I am going to make you overthink what you just said about all this stuff.
Okay.
All right. So who said it earlier? I think it was Mark Tobin. Maybe said it earlier on here. Was talking about Steelers go try to score 30 a game.
Yeah.
It was Mark. So Mark gets credit for that. See, that was right here. Okay. Let's suppose that the offense really kicks it in gear and goes.
Yeah.
And we're scoring in the 30.
Then going to go prevent.
We're going points at the end of games, just making teams eat clock. We're giving up more points than
we'll give up we'll give up a 6-minute drive, even if it's a touchdown.
Right. That's what makes this tough.
Yeah, that's what makes it difficult. So, real quick, I just got, let's do 2 more on defense before we open up the live chat. Let's go sacks. I'm going 55 because I think they were 54 this past year. They were 56 is the franchise record, which they just had a couple years ago. They've been right there in the 50s the last 3 years. So that's why I'm going to make it tough and keep it up there. 55 sacks. You know my answer already because I put it out there.
Over.
You know I'm over because I've called that they're going to hit 60.
Yeah.
So that's why I made the number higher. So, if we're both saying over, that means they're going to at least tie the franchise record in a season or beat it.
Yeah.
So, that's funny because Awesome Stuff 1983 says under since we don't have Hargrave.
See, I say over because we're getting Tuitt back.
Yeah, because I mean, Tuitt was on pace to have 9 last year. That was a lot more than Hargrave had. So I think Hargrave only had 4 last year. I think Hargrave barely beat Tuitt in 16 games as what Tuitt had in 6. So I'm hoping that's there. But, a lot of things can change. Last thing that I'm going to bring up, unless you have one you want to bring up, let's go takeaways. Oh, because I forgot to do turnovers. I had a lot more offensive ones to do that I didn't do, but we'll leave it open to the live chat and see if they come up with these. Let's go takeaways. I think, last year they had 38. The year before they had 17. So it was just absolute crazy turnaround with things like that. So takeaways are tough to judge because they're very opportunistic. And when you bank on them to win games, you're going to be in trouble. They help you win games, but when you depend on them to win games, you're in trouble. I am going to set the number at 30.
Interesting. I was worried with what number you were going to set it at. I think you made this one easier for me.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I had my number in mind. I thought you were going to set it there. I'm taking the over at 30.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
I'm actually going to go the under on this one. I don't think they get as many turnovers simply because teams are going to be super aware of trying to take care of the ball against them even more. I think their sacks will be up, but I don't necessarily think there'll be strip sacks and things of that nature. I hope I'm wrong. I'm just throwing it out there.
See, what's funny? You said this. I thought you were going to put the number at 32 because that's the number that was in my head for where I could see them ending up. They're going to drop a little bit. As we saw last year, as teams didn't throw towards Minkah, cut down on his interceptions. But to me, what's going to happen is if the secondary holds up like it was last year, quarterbacks are going to have to do one of two things. They're either A, going to have to throw the ball when they don't want to, which is going to give us chances at interceptions. Or 2, they're going to have to hold the ball a tick longer than they want to. And that's going to give our guys a chance to get to them, which increases your possibility of the strip sack. Although I see a drop coming, I don't think it's going to be a huge drop. So I don't see us being 8 less.
Yeah, I am, just because I think it's kind of, was that the exception or the rule? I think last year was the exception. And let's just say this. I still think the Steelers are going to have a successful season with a lot of wins, and I want to see them be able to do that without being dependent on turnovers.
Yeah.
That I'm thinking that I still think they can be successful without having to get the turnovers. Doesn't mean that they won't. So although I have some other ones, I'm going to wait and see if some other people have them. I am now putting this out in the live chat for you all to throw out some over-unders that we will answer. Now, keep it Steeler related. We don't have to do, over under of how many predictions Lance Williams is going to get wrong for the season. We don't need to do over under of how many tacos I could eat in one sitting. Although those would be fun. That sounds more like an after party.
I got one non-Steeler related one for you that I got to throw out there just because I got to go. Okay. I'm going. The over-under on this is at a cool dozen, and that would be number of fish Thaddeus and I caught.
Oh, did you end up getting to go fishing with Thaddeus after all?
No, so that's why you should take the under.
That's why I take the under. There you go. That's what I was thinking. I thought that happened. That you guys
missed out on that. His little guy ended up with a double ear infection. They ended up finding out, but because he'd been up all night and running a fever, his wife was like, "We don't want to risk anything with what's going on in the world today." She's like, "You got to not go." So,
yep. Hey, I'm ready to dive into these here.
All right, yep. Folks have got them rolling. Let's get to them.
Okay, so here's one I'm going to do: forced fumbles for TJ Watt of 8. Under or over?
Over.
I'm going under.
Forced fumbles.
7.
Didn't say recover.
No, forced fumbles.
Fumbles.
I'm going to go. You know what? That really that could. I'm just going the opposite of you, but yeah, I could see that. Here, this isn't really an over/under, but it was a good question. Over/under of the chances we trade a running back before the season starts. Over/under of what? 100%. I don't know how to say that, but no, it's not really an over/under. But you think they trade a running back before the season starts?
After what went on today, that
we'll say over/under of 0.5 of the number of running backs the Steelers will trade before the start of the season.
I'll tell you, that went from a 0% chance going into today to there now being a chance.
So you could say if you set the over/under at 0.5, I'll take the over. Here you go from Donald Nolan. Ben Roethlisberger's TDs, 33. Let's see. Where's 2017? I got to get used to this. In 2017, he had 28. And then I think in 2018, he had, I don't know that he had as many. No, maybe he did. He had 34 in 2018. So what do you think?
I'm going to take the under, but again, an over wouldn't surprise me here. But I would bet the under.
I'm going under as well. I'm going to say, you know what? That's funny. 33. I'm pretty sure when I threw out something on a show that Brian and Lance did, that was my number. Was 33. I'm going to say under because I think it'll be. It could be right around that 31. Maybe I said 31. I can't remember. I've thrown out so many numbers. You think I would remember them all by now. So getting people that are answering the questions, which is really good. Here we go. Mark Tobin wants to know over under touchdown catches for rookie Chase Claypool of 5.
I'm going under.
I'm going under as well because I thought 5 would be like the max. So I'm thinking 3 or 4 is probably a little bit more realistic.
If he gets to 5, I'll be doing my happy dance.
Yeah.
So
if he'd have given me 3, I'd have gone over.
Yeah. Now,
okay.
You missed the one before where they asked.
Okay. Thank you.
Touchdowns at 9.
Juju touchdowns at 9. Oh, that's
hard.
That's a lot. Isaac, that's a good one. Isaac, who was the one who donated the Juju jersey that we had for our contest. In the past, I'm
taking the under.
I am too. I'm going 7,
and that's just because I think we got so many receivers that are going to get spread around.
Yeah, I think they might key in on Juju. I don't know because Ebron could maybe take some of those away. It's hard. I mean, There's a lot of places that you could go with the ball when you get down there when you go to throw. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Speaking of contests, I got to make sure I mention something at the end of the show. Okay. Donald Nolan, Terrell Edmonds, takeaways of 3 over under. Like fumble recoveries or interceptions.
I'm going under.
I'm going under. I'm going 2. I think he'll do better than in years past. 2 would be better, but yeah. So, yep. So I'm looking because a lot of people are. It's so hard to find these because of the answers. No problem. Hey, I'm not complaining. I love it. I love the answers. Here's one from Ryan Kellerman. Over under Devin Bush with his number of interceptions 3. Did he have 3? I know he had. I think he had. I know he had 2 last year.
I know he had at least 2 last year, and that was actually in fairly limited action because he played early and then.
Let's see, where was he? Devin Bush. He had 2 last year. 2 interceptions last year.
Man,
that's a great push. That's a great number. That's a great place to put it.
The number, 3 is where I see him sitting. So if I have to go over under, I'd be saying push at 3. But I don't know. I that's when I'd like to maybe bet the over.
Yeah, that was great. If you'd have given me 2.5, I'd have taken the over. I'd have taken the hook.
Yeah.
So, see, this one from a statistic standpoint is just too easy with Rico Parsons' Steelers Super Bowl championships of 6 over under. I'm assuming you mean at the end of the 2020 season. That's just statistically you take the under on that as a betting person because it's, although it doesn't mean that I wouldn't bet on them to win the Super Bowl. I did that last year. That didn't turn out too well.
It's just where the sport money is.
Here you go. Portno wants to know number of sacks between Ola and Tuzar as 4.
Wow, that would really get into. There's that Ola and Tuzar 4. It's another one. I'd be pretty happy if we'd hit 4 with them. I would take the under.
I'm taking the under as well. I think one of them might be reduced to not playing.
Yep. So
that would mean it might be whichever one is playing needs 4, and I don't know if they can get 4 by themselves. If you said for the reserve linebackers, meaning whoever it would be, including Highsmith, and you said it 4, I'd actually would have taken the over. Yeah. Meaning it could have just been 2. Awesome stuff. Over under 7 TDs for Ebron.
Ooh,
that's a good one.
That's another good number because I'm wanting to say 7 is where I had him pegged. See, I went under on the. See, that's where I would maybe go ahead and take the over. See, I could see it like him, Juju at 8 a piece. Throw Claypool in there at 5, maybe 2 for Vance, 5 or 6.
I mean, you watched Vance have 2 last year in one game.
Get Johnson, get 5 or 6. We could score a lot of touchdowns and have nobody hit double digits. I'd like to bet the over on Ebron. I just think he's a matchup nightmare in the red zone.
I do too, but like I said, the franchise record for the Steelers is 8. So I'm going to say under, but barely. I'm going to say 6. All right, here we go. We're going to go rapid fire because we're just going to try to get a few of these in right before we finish up. Deontay Johnson, punt return TDs, 1.5.
Over.
I'm going under. I'm going with 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going 2.
Okay. Switzer total scrimmage yards, 300. Over and under.
Under.
Under. Now I'm getting answers. I'm trying to find the question here. So here we go. That was another Ebron one. What?
Dupree over under 8 sacks.
Oh, I'll go back to that one. Here's this one. Steelers special team return. Steelers special team returns TDs 3 over under. I'm saying I'm staying under because I don't think they'll get any kickoff ones. And I already said 1 punt return.
Yeah. See, I'm going under as well. I think we get 2 punt returns from DJ.
There you go. Dupree over under 8 sacks.
I'm gonna give him the over. I bet he gets a 9.
Same here. You know what? I'm gonna put him at 10.5. Gonna give him the double digits again. Hayden, and it's funny. I'm giving him these numbers, and then you ask me a different show. I won't remember them, and I'll give a different number. Hayden, 4 interceptions, over or under for Joe Hayden. He had 5 last year.
Yeah, I'm giving him the over.
Okay, give him the over. I'll go under this year because I think maybe Steven Nelson might take, if they're going to have, in my opinion, if they're going to have less takeaways, then I think perhaps it might be Nelson getting some of the ones that Hayden might have had otherwise. This is an interesting one. Mason Rudolph starts, over and under of 1.
Over.
I'm going with a push. I think he'll start again, and I don't think it'll be week 17 because I don't think with the new playoff. Okay, you're saying 2? Okay. And like I said, I think, the big thing is 500, as long as he starts less than 6 games and he has 500 ball, they're okay. I know if it's only 1 start, you can't have 500. It's either 0 or 1,000. So here we go. Here's one. There they said total. I'm going to ask you this one. They said total running back yards of 2,100 over under. I think that's including receiving yards because we already did rushing yards, right? So let's look at running back yards including receiving at 2,100.
I don't know. What do you think?
Well, because that would add what did we say? I said over 1,500. You said under. So this would add another 600 yards by the different running backs. Ooh, that's if you're talking about receiving yards as well, I'll take. Yeah, I think I'll go under 2. It'll be closer to about 2,000. Anyway, we got to wrap this up now, but just because we are out of time, because one thing I wanted to mention, we are extremely, extremely close to 100,000 followers on Facebook. We are like, the last time I checked, I think it was 71 followers on Facebook away from 100,000. If we hit that 100,000, we're going to do a giveaway. I haven't announced it yet because I'm waiting for it to arrive of something I have for a giveaway. So make sure you pay attention to that. If you haven't followed us on Facebook, make sure you follow Behind the Steel Curtain on Facebook. Also follow us on Twitter as well. Our individual Twitter stuff's up there, but we could put the BTSC Twitter feed up there, which is BT Steel Curtain, where you could also get some. Now, I was a little bit late tonight because I forgot about it. Giving you notification of when our shows are going to be going live is something that have been trying to do more on Twitter. So make sure you're checking out BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, your one-stop shop for all things Pittsburgh Steelers. You are 68 followers short, by the way. On thanks for checking that word. So we got a few more in the last couple hours. Yep. So make sure you're checking there. Then of course you've got our family of podcasts. We've got you want to say anything about tomorrow night?
Yes, I will. I don't even know which.
It's the standard. Is the standard?
Right. Standard is the standard.
It looks like you might be filling in for one Lancelot Williams, and you're going to go on with BAD tomorrow night. Yep. So his daughter, I think, has an award, something with the recognition or award that she has that with Lance tomorrow is the thing. Then Thursday we've got the preview. Friday, yeah, I said it. Saturday, Steelers Brunch with Tony. Sunday, the Sunday show, whatever they call it now. I think it was called the Sunday show last week. And then Monday, you'll be back with Q&A. Rich, anything else for the good of the order before we roll out of here?
No, just everybody, thanks again for the fun participation in the live chat. Always fun, always great. That's really kind of what I look forward to in these things, seeing what everybody else has to say.
I mean, we were doing our over-unders, but we were really wanting to wait and get to your guys's. Make sure you like the show. That'll help. Like the show. Subscribe on YouTube. You want to send us out?
No, you do it.
Then I'll do it. Make sure you tune in, tell a friend, and subscribe. Thanks for geeking out. Thanks for geeking out with us.